pretty decent windows, double pane, insulated. But when it's this cold, oh yeah. But good news, it's warming up. It's only minus 30. Let's go have a chit chat, shall we? Another beauty day on deck. As you can plainly see, the front windows also have ice on them, and there's ice up there as well. The reason for this being, well, it's kind of cold out. You see the relative humidity is rather high at 72%, a lot of moisture in the air, which is a little bit abnormal. But if you look, let's go down to the bottom here. So, back in 2014, almost 40 degrees. And look at the trend. 41 degrees, 2014. 40 degrees, 2014. 39 degrees. So yeah, normal winter weather is upon us in the Chilcotin. And as you know, we've had a rather mild one so far this year. But yeah, just hang on a second. I'll flip this around. Good morning. How's it going? I don't know. I guess this is just a random food for thought. Brain freeze! Maybe that'll be actually the title of this. Who knows? About 7:45 in the morning. It is a Tuesday here in the Chilcotin. It is our Sunday due to Mrs. Chibu's work schedule. A murder of crows just flew by. I know where they're heading. They're going to go hang out in the chicken coop. Because usually when I go do chicken coop chores, say that 10 times fast and Balinese backwards. But yeah, when I do oh, I love it. When I do, it's usually referred to as a number 2. But in all seriousness, when I do the chicken coop chores, brain freeze, baby. That cold. I noticed that there's some crows that are actually trapped in one of the mesh-in areas. There was a couple yesterday that had been in there for a while. I physically was able to grab them and set them free before the dogs had at them. But I digress. We're not here to talk about chicken coop chores or anything like that. We're here to talk about the brain freeze, the big freeze. And as I alluded to, and as you've known from subsequent videos, it's been a rather mild winter out here. Not a lot of snow. Well, we got snow, obviously, but it'd be nice to have a couple feet of coverage. I think we got about 6 inches now, 6 to 8 inches. There is some forecast. We should get some more for the month of February. Hopefully we can get some in March too. And we're kind of hoping that it sticks around, cold weather and snow, until sometime in April, just because we are on tap to have the hottest record in BC's history this year. Headbanger. Delish. Anyways. So yes, with this weather comes a sort of change in the dynamics of things, because I myself know physically I don't mind doing lots of hard laboring outside, but once you get past minus 20, and sort of it's a burning feeling on your lungs. So even my training sort of is stopped before it gets to minus 20 anymore. With the waters that would have to be done for the critters, there's always ice to be broken. This is just a common thing in ranches and farms, where, you know, unless you have some sort of giant commercialized thing where you've got a huge heated water tub so that it'll never freeze. But we use these heaters that go in the actual water tubs that we use. As you know, the pig pens are utilizing old bathtubs that are buried into the ground, and we only have one heater for those guys because they're not cheap. So we bounce it back and forth. Horse water, they're using a big 55 gallon barrel, and for whatever reason, in extreme colds, it wants to freeze up, just because that little 1500 watt heater element has a hard time keeping 55 gallons of water from freezing. Put in some kind of contextualization for you, a 5 gallon bucket of water. If you fill that up and leave it out outside, it'll have at least an inch on the top and around the sides within a half hour. It freezes quick. And as liquids expand when they freeze, we've noticed that our eggs too, because our coop is heated with one heat light. Obviously it's not enough because that's just keeping their water thawed for them to drink out of. But yeah, usually the dogs or the oinkers are enjoying frozen chicken eggs because they sort of, it's part of the thing. Doing the waters, like I said, I can't usually run hoses and stuff in this weather because the water freezes as it's running through the hose. So we're hauling buckets. It's very labor intensive, but it's not anything I'm not cognizant of or aware of because I've been doing this for years now. And when it comes to the elements and dealing with the extremes, even back in Ontario, hot, sweltering summers with fucking crazy humidex levels, and you just want to melt into a fucking puddle somewhere. I've worked construction in that and enjoyed that, and been at the opposite end of the spectrum, doing high-rise steel in January or February when it's like minus 20 or something on a 60-story building. Yeah, one extreme to the other. So my whole life, from being a kid and working in the summer doing some corn detasseling, or even as a preteen being a paper boy. I had a paper out, so rain, snow, all sorts of shit, you're delivering the papers. Bought me my first 10-speed. So I understand what it's like to be out in adverse conditions in different seasons of the year. I've always said I love winter, and as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed winter a lot more, simply for the fact that it brings with it a very tranquil beauty to the environment. Walking around in a snow-carpeted environment as the snow is falling, it is one of the most serene things that one can do, and I think that is sort of prana for the soul, if you can find that appreciation in such a simple act of nature. Again, out here, obviously a bit different than growing up in Ontario or spending winters on the island, because the island has this almost like a tropical rainforest feel to it because of the proximity of the forest and the mountains and the interaction with the convection currents off the whole strip up the coast of BC, as well as the edges of Vancouver Island, the southern points, obviously. They stay rather warm. I think a cold day in Victoria is if it gets to -5. Ugh. And it might even snow once or twice. Not much, maybe a centimeter or two, but yeah, different weather patterns all over the world, all over the places I've lived. And again, that's lent itself to jobs I've done over the decades. I'm getting really high. I can fucking, hey man, what's happening? I feel like I'm a reject from fucking Dazed and Confused. all right. But yeah, summer's here. Gets fucking hot. Like temperature-wise, sweltering. I've taken pictures in the past with the thermometers outside, standing there, my hair up, stacked on my head, just because it's like, holy fuck, again, melt into a puddle kind of heat, but it's almost 50 degrees Celsius. And those same summer days, you can have it go down to 2 or 3 degrees at night, so it's like a nice, cool night. It feels nice and cool, but the diurnal swing of this area is something I can extrapolate on in a minute. And the same goes with the temps in the winters. You can have a crazy swing where, like it warmed up to, it felt like our thermometer said it was -15, but it says it got to -17 yesterday, and then it went down to -37. So it's a bit of a swing. Anyways, I do have this bit of something here that basically says, I'll read this. There you go, I can see it now. This is from a longtime resident that's been out here since the early 80s. And it was explained to him by Environment Canada that we are just far enough from the ocean, but shielded enough by the mountains, that would be the coastal mountains to the west, and just high enough up, and we get a straight wind that comes out of the north, that we get extra cold. And that's why we have been the coldest place in Canada, and we have one of the greatest diurnal spreads. So that's where, fancy word came from, diurnal. All right, brothers and sisters. Yeah. So obviously with your environment, you have to acclimate yourself to it, because it's not like you're going to go out there and just fucking deal with it thinking that, oh yeah, I spent a lot of time outside working both summer and winter. Just the last few days we've had this cold snap. There was some stuff that I won't extrapolate on that I had to deal with here on the farm that was time consuming, and all that time was spent outside for hours and hours on end. In this weather, one thing is given. Obviously, you're dressing in layers. You dress for the environment. The one thing that I've found, aside from having good footwear, I'm a big fan of gloves, because gloves allow you to have that dexterity, but gloves are fucking useless in certain temperature extremes. Mittens, baby. You want your fingers together in some quality mittens. I cannot stress that enough. But you acclimate yourself to your environment no matter where you are. I know many people that they have a preference for warmer climates, for warmer weather generally all year round, because more than likely that's what they were raised in. So that's cool. I get that. I was raised in a climate that we experienced 4 seasons. So I'm a big fan of that. Over time, the 4 seasons things has sort of, depending where you live, it's just become a mishmash. You can experience, look at Ontario. Ontario now experiences 2 or 3 seasons on a monthly basis, it seems, throughout the fucking year. They don't get winter and summer, but they do spring and fall, as well as summer. And in the fall, they'll do winter and summer, and in the winter, they'll do fall and spring weather. It's just like the craziest mishmash, because they just went through extreme polar vortex cold, and then a couple of days later, as I said, they were doing spring-like temperature. All the snow they had, all the ridiculousness of the winter they had was gone, erased in a day or so. They're back into spring, and in a week from now, they're going to be doing like sort of normal winter for Ontario weather. It's like really wacky. And if you understand how this is caused, and you have an open mind towards it, you know that's not this bullshit global warming scheme. It's just weather is cyclical. The sun is changing. The magnetosphere is changing. The poles are doing their thing, and just sort of the extreme weathers that we see, they're going to become more and more extreme. So I have said to many people in conversation, we'll look back at 2019 and go, man, remember when it was the good old days? So dog rotations change. You know, the dogs are acclimated to extreme weathers, obviously, but when it's this cold, we just rotate them. We rotate them high and fast. So they're outside for 10 minutes. They're active. They're doing stuff. They do their business. They get back inside. So usually rotation in and out on the hour. They'd like to stay out longer, but when you see your dog starting to pick up their paws because it's too cold to fucking stand there, you know it's bad. It's not like they've got boots on, and that's not always going to be the perfect recourse for everybody, as some dogs have shown us. But I digress, because, again, half a doobie, I'm really high. The sun is going to be cracking the ridgeline very shortly. How nice and white that's by the way. But I'll let you get on with your day. Remember, dress for the weather, whether you're up, whether you're down. Enjoy the gift of the day, because there is no guarantees of tomorrow's. Anyways, peace, love, blessings from the farm. Till next time.
The way he wants. Well, he gets.